Why is low cholesterol supposedly healthier than high cholesterol when research consistently shows more people die with low cholesterol than high cholesterol? And don't forget, who pays for all these studies? The pharmaceutical companies that are pushing the drugs. And guess what happens when a study comes out with unfavorable results? They don't publish it. This is why you cannot and should not get your health information from the government or mainstream media. It's all about money.
No. Tanner, I would love to see evidence suggesting that researchers are not publishing the results if they are not in favor of the one who funded the study. I talked about the funding argument in one of my previous videos. So you can go and watch that video because I talk about it in depth. But in short, it's a very lame argument. Now, regarding your last claim, and I will share the studies about LDL cholesterol in just a minute. While there are indeed some studies suggesting that, well, low LDL cholesterol seems to be a problem, if you look and actually read those studies, you can see where the problem lies. What Tanner doesn't know is that if you experience a heart attack, your LDL levels drop. What Tanner also doesn't know is residual risk. If you accumulated 5,000 milligrams of LDL years, the risk for cardiovascular disease and residual risks, so other diseases associated with atherosclerosis, shoots up. So Tanner, please tell us how many of the people being hospitalized are using statins and thus have low LDL levels. But that doesn't mean that they had low LDL levels their entire life. Having said that, let's look at the totality of evidence. Horton and colleagues looked at different LDL levels in different populations. They looked at people that, due to their genes, had very high LDL levels since birth or very low LDL levels since birth. They also included average Americans, and what they actually wanted to see is when, on average, these people with different LDL levels experience a cardiovascular disease event. The red line is homozygous familial hypercholesterolemia. Let's call hypercholesterolemia FH from now on. These people have LDL levels ranging from 400 to 1000 milligrams per deciliter. Next up is heterozygous FH, and these people have LDL levels between 300 to 500 milligrams per deciliter. The average American has an LDL level of around 110 to 125 milligrams per deciliter, and those with PCSK9 heterozygous loss of function have an average LDL of around 15 milligrams per deciliter. Those with homozygous FH experience a cardiovascular event at the age of 15. Some even need bypass surgery at the age of 6. Those with heterozygous FH experience a cardiovascular event in their 30s. The average American experience a cardiovascular event in their 60s. And those with PCSK9 heterozygous loss of function either don't experience cardiovascular disease events their entire life or in their 90s. This already is way better evidence, in my opinion, than the evidence Tanner provided. Let's look at another groundbreaking study published by Ferenc and colleagues in 2017. They have based their conclusions on the totality of evidence from separate meta-analysis of genetic studies, prospective studies, Mendelian randomization studies, and randomized clinical trials. And in case you're wondering, this includes over 200 studies involving over 2 million participants with over 2 million person-years of follow-up data, and sadly more than 150,000 cardiovascular events happened. The following graph that I will be blending in speaks for itself. At the top, you can see the Mendelian randomization studies. Those are the people that had low LDL levels since birth. In the middle, you see the prospective cohort studies, so people that on average were followed up for 12 years. And down at the bottom, you see the randomized controlled trials that follow people for 5 years. Another interpretation of this graph is basically that when it comes to LDL, the lower the better and the earlier the better. Meaning the earlier you can get to really low LDL levels, the lower the risk is for experiencing cardiovascular disease events. The following risk reductions are really mind-blowing. Keep in mind, before I show you the graph, that the average age of people that have been recruited in randomized controlled clinical trials were 63. If you reduce LDL per 1 millimole per liter, that's around 38 to 40 milligrams per deciliter within the duration of the randomized controlled clinical trials, which is again 5 years. You have a 23% reduction in events. But what's even crazier is if you reduce your LDL levels per 1 millimole per liter your entire life, you have a reduction in events of around 88%. Speaking about Ferenc and colleagues, let's look at another study that they published. I would like to focus on two graphs in this study. They calculated that if you accumulated 5,000 milligrams of LDL years, your risk for myocardial infarctions will start to rise every single year. The red line shows the interventions with statins. The interventions happens too late. It happens at a stage in which most people that take statins have accumulated already a significant amount of plaques within their arteries. The next graph is also really mind-blowing. The blue box included 46 different genetic variations on how people have low LDL levels. And for each 1 millimole per liter, again 38 to 40 milligrams per deciliter, lower lifetime exposure of LDL, people with these genetic variations have a 54% lower odds of experiencing coronary heart disease or non-fatal myocardial infarctions. Or in other words, these people have an absolute risk reduction of 23%. This number is also crazy high. People like Tanner don't really care about your health. They maybe pretend that they are, but all they care about is creating controversy and getting popular on social media. Don't take my word for it. Those are the words from Tanner himself. He left this comment when I reacted to his video about eggs. I have something against people that are spreading misinformation on social media, because that misinformation can potentially harm people. Tanner, Shuck, you can do way better than this. And you should do better than this. What are your thoughts about this topic? Feel free to let me know in the comments section. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you during my next video.